since I am a professor here at ESCP-EAP, I'm delighted to welcome all of you here to our school. It's a little bit late to be welcoming you, but I'll do it anyway. I'm actually based on our London campus. As you probably know, ESCP-EAP has 5 campuses, Paris being the original one, and then 4 other campuses, London, Berlin, Madrid, and Torino. So I'm very happy to be representing our London campus. So as Bjorn said, I'm a marketer, and so you're probably wondering why I'm here. I was kind of wondering why I was here yesterday too when I came in, and I thought, well, maybe I shouldn't be here. I don't really belong here. And then as the day sort of went on, I realized that we're all talking the same language. And so I'm very happy to be sort of introducing probably a slightly different perspective on what's been discussed here over the last couple of days. I think it's been a tremendous conference. I've learned a great deal. And so my perspective comes from some of my work in social media and more broadly on marketing strategy. And I recently did worked on a project for Lego. They're, as you know, a very interesting, very creative company, and they realized that they are a company with lots and lots of fans, obviously lots and lots of users, and they started hearing this term ecosystem around, and were trying to understand what an ecosystem was and how they could sort of get their heads around this notion of ecosystem in terms of what it means for their business. So they hired me about a year ago to think about their ecosystem. And we just finished the project about a month ago, and it's still confidential. They haven't given me the green light to share a lot of our findings, but there's some general things that I will bring into this presentation that I think will help us, get a different perspective on what it is that we've been talking about for the last couple days. So the first thing is when Bjorn called me and said, do you want to do a presentation? It's Enterprise 2.0, and I said, enterprise? Do people really still talk about enterprise? Because I think about ecosystem. Enterprise, so then I went to the dictionary. I'm a linguist by training, so I tend to go to dictionaries when I don't understand things. Enterprise is about, it's from the French word entreprendre, and it's about, undertaking, okay? So there's a sense of starting and ending, something very linear. And then ecosystem is, about a community, and it's about interaction and connectedness. And that's where I come into this and say, maybe we ought to be thinking about ecosystem. It's a little late in the conference to be changing the theme, but that's kind of what I'm proposing. So one of the things as a marketer that I think has been missing from the conversation, the last couple of days, is the word customer. Granted, some people have mentioned it, but not enough in my sense, because at the end of the day, we all have customers. Without customers, we can't do very much. And so, the value chain in general doesn't even talk about customers. So if I look at Lego, and particularly their Mindsets products, who's in the ecosystem? Well, anybody know Seymour Papert from MIT? He's a guy he's a professor, very, very, well-known professor at MIT, who basically designed Mindstorms and came up with the whole idea. Then we've got Lego retail employees who sell, Lego Mindstorms and bricks and so on. Then we've got someone like Mike Davin. Mike runs a website called Business of Robotics and is a fan of Mindstorms. He contributes a lot of ideas, a lot of what I would call value to Mindstorms and to Lego. Damien Key is an author. He wrote a book on technology and education, and he's a Mindstorm community partner. So he's also creating a lot of value for Mindstorms and for Lego. We've got people like Hans Andersen, who's a fan, who posts his models and so on that he does with Mindstorms. He's adding a lot of value to Lego. The San Francisco Public Library recently did an exhibit with Mindstorms. They're clearly adding a lot of value, right, as much as anyone else within the Lego group itself. And then Lego education, people, kids around the world who participate in programs with Lego, they're adding a lot of value too. So that's kind of, giving us a broader, perspective on who actually creates value at Lego. The thing about ecosystems is in general, they're organic. And organic can be very good because it means that it happens by itself. You don't have to do very much to make it happen. But sometimes they can get out of control, right? So there's sort of this sense among a lot of companies that, yes, it's organic, it's spontaneous, but do we really, really want to endorse this kind of thinking because it's scary, okay? And we see examples, for instance, Ferrero. Ferrero makes Nutella. Sorry, is there a bottle of water somewhere I can have? Ferrero makes Nutella, and they have fans all over the world. And someone thought, wouldn't it be great to have a Nutella World Day? And so they started this big movement of people excited about Nutella and so on. And then Ferrero said, wait a minute, you don't own the brand. You can't do these things. And they talked to their lawyers and said, get these people out of there. They can't do this. Okay, you can see how this organic sense can really backfire and and can be very, very scary for companies. But is there really a choice? So this is what thank you, Amaury. Should have remembered. This is what happened to Lego. When they first came out with Mindstorms, they realized very quickly that their fans were taking the programs and modifying it and making them their own. That's when they started thinking ecosystem. So the question is, where in the ecosystem is value created? And interestingly, this is a question that was asked yesterday by the speaker from L'Oréal. So if you look at your traditional value chain, this is a value chain for the music business. The value chain here is fairly simple. It's, again, very linear. It starts with the artists, and then the record company, and then the users. It's a very linear loop, a very linear line track, and there's no feedback, right? Very, very simple, and it's sort of your traditional value chain. Then you look at what really goes on in the music business and what the ecosystem really looks like. And here you see a lot more feedback loops, a lot more different kinds of players and stakeholders. So in the first one, you have something that's very firm-centric with silos. You have something that's called comparative advantage, the whole Taillard, sort of Taylorism thinking. No feedback loops, as I said. Information is captured, right? This notion of capturing information. What do you do with information when it's captured? And this whole idea that we find in a lot of management books and economic books that value is destroyed by users. Okay, so that's the way people really think in terms of a very linear value chain. In the ecosystem, there's engagement, obviously. The roles are blurred between users and creators, producers. You start getting these, this blurriness. Information is let loose to be used by whoever wants it. There's exchange, there's emergence, as the speaker before me talked about emergence, the value that emerges out of people talking together, collective intelligence. And this idea, which I think is really quite interesting, that value never dies. Value is like energy. We all studied physics. Energy never dies. Value is the same way. That's particularly true if you think of value in a very broad sense, including things like having fun, including things like feeling good about yourself. So what I'm saying here is it's all about survival, because the ecosystem is something that comes out organically, where people share purpose, where people connect together, and they do that in order to survive, in order to be able to create value to survive. So what drives this shared purpose? Well, this shared purpose is driven mostly by people just getting on with their lives and getting their jobs done. I talked about jobs done yesterday in a commentary on in one of the sessions. People are just trying to get on with their lives, to find solutions to things they need to do, and that's how they create value, by connecting with each other in order to do this. This idea of shared purpose is very interesting. It comes originally from the idea of shared intention that was developed by a philosopher, Michael Bratman, at Stanford, who talks about 3 conditions for shared intentions. And the 3 conditions are the following. Each participant intends to undertake the shared action. So there's an individual intention to undertake an action. Each intends to do so because the others are doing so. So there's that connectedness in the intentions there. That's very critical. And finally, they all know that they intend to undertake the action. So there's, again, this collective and connected intention. So how does the ecosystem actually create value? Where does this process actually take place? Well, it's about doing things together. So kids, putting the bricks together. We were talking about making, Lego bricks out of biscuits earlier. Any way you can put these bricks together, build something together. It's about getting the job done, as I just said. This is an interesting example, brickology. Some mothers who got together in the US, they created an after-school club for kids to play with Lego bricks. And as they started doing that, it became more and more something that they enjoyed doing. More and more kids were getting into that. They ended up creating an organization with franchises for Lego after-school clubs, brickology. Very, very interesting, creative way of creating value. And it's about telling great stories. And we all know, excuse me. The Lego movie, what is it, $69 million opening weekend? That's a great way to create stories and create value. So in fact, it's all about creativity. It's about people creating value through these interactions in a very creative way. Here's an interesting model on creativity. Creativity is a triangle between a creator, an audience, and an artifact, something that's being created, whether it's an idea, an object, what have you. And it's in the internalization and externalization of ideas and objects and ways of doing things that creativity comes out. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about value creation. So the added value from the ecosystem is that you're able to harness the value of creative stakeholders as they come together, exchange ideas, and so on. The valuable insights that you get from the different stakeholders, the collaboration that fosters a sense of shared purpose, the critical mass of the community. The more people you have in the community, the more value is created, the more creativity is going to contribute to the whole project. And beyond simply ROIs, we've talked about ROI several times over the last several days. Beyond ROI, we're talking about actual value being created. What are the issues and the challenges with this approach? Well, the first one is the silo mindset. Then there's, internal resistance. This doesn't sound right. Organic is scary. Organic is not the way we go. Finding new performance indicators. How do you measure what value is created? How do you measure what your customers are bringing to the enterprise? Governance. Who's in charge? How can you let customers suddenly use your brand, your logo, decide where your brand is going to be used? Go back to the Nutella example, right? How can you possibly, when you're Ferrero, let someone outside the organization start a Nutella World Day? It's something that people have a hard time with. Risk and control, legal issues, cost revenue allocation, all these questions, I can tell you from my experience with the project I've just finished, are questions that are very, very real when people start thinking about ecosystems. And then finally, how do you nurture the ecosystem? Who does it? What kind of organization do you need in order to do that? Well, at the end of the day, it's about a social transformation. And that social transformation is, as I said, about looking beyond the enterprise, also embracing the organicness that comes with this, and realizing that, hey, it's here anyway, as Lego found out. It's here, and we've got to deal with it. There's something in it that is that is of value, and at the same time, there's no choice. Fostering this sense of shared purpose. If you're able to foster shared purpose with people outside the organization, your customers, your fans, your suppliers, your retailers, then it's going to sort of impact inside the organization also. And then fostering and harnessing creativity. Thanks very much. Peter?
Q&A.
Sorry?
Just for question and answers.
Oh, yeah, Q&A now. Sorry, yeah, because I need to leave for the round table.
Yeah.
So.
Are there any questions? So, if we compare the external and the internal factors that push companies to change and transform, what would you say? So, would you say it's more push from the external or more push from the internal?
Well, I think that the external has a very interesting role to play. If you take the example of Mindstorm, it is the external that sort of pushed the internal to happen. Suddenly they were faced with this issue. Here we are with people outside the organization who are making us sort of rethink the way we create value. We'd better get with the program and do something about it. And then if you look at the other example, the sort of reverse example, the one with Nutella, again, pushed by the outside and saying, "No, we're not going to do it. We're gonna stop right here." So I think one of the points I'm making here is the external can have a really positive impact on the way the internal thinks and is going to transform.
But for this, we really have to think in a holistic way. So if we just perceive the external as some single customer implications or something, it's not really impacting the company in a whole, is it, or in a holistic way? So if you're just saying, well, yes, we want to satisfy our customers. Customer service is very much also driving some inputs internally. This is not the level we need to understand the social ecosystem. It's more behind it, is it?
I think it impacts every single stage of the value chain within the company. Is going to impact things like product development. It may actually end up impacting the value chain. If your customers are in somehow asking for things to get to them faster or to be reinvented in a different way, it's going to impact your supply chain, and obviously it's going to impact things like customer service and so on and so forth. So you could look at the entire value chain and see the impact that the external part of the ecosystem is going to have on that value chain.
What is your recommendations? How should companies go on this and take the chance to really to get this?
I think it starts with sort of a perspective to start with. I mean, the ecosystem is there anyway. Take that approach, take that perspective, start thinking in terms of what value is being created outside the company. Start finding ways to measure that value. Which is exactly, again, what we're doing with Lego. And then you can start building, a case for the fact that, this is something that's worth, looking at and understanding what it's doing for us.
Great. Are there any more questions? Oh, yes.
Just a comment, because thank you very much for this presentation. Just what you're saying reminds me of something that is, for me, the Enterprise 2.0 is to make people to come together in the ecosystem so they can generate a spark, you know. And sparks is the essence of creativity, right? But also spark is something dangerous because you can generate a fire.
That's right.
That's why people are so scared about.
Yeah,
you know,
you know, I call it the organic aspect.
Right.
You know where it starts, you don't know where it'll end. Right.
So, well, just wanted to share this with you.
Yeah,
Thank
no,
you very much.
absolutely. I think it's a very good point. You know, there's something inherently risky, but you know, I think most of what we've talked about for the last couple of days here has been about people taking risks. And I do think there's a perspective there to be taken that can be very valuable. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Marie Taillard.